Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is Chance Ball Chapter 2, and this one is titled Cool. I have my ways, he replied calmly. Well, have your way with this, you said sharply, and then hung up. Dabi tried calling you again, but you refused to pick up. He texted you a few messages, goading you to reply, but you ignored his texts. Next day at school, he was waiting at the gate. Ah, there's my pretty girlfriend, he yelled at you brightly, waving his arm. You could feel the jealous eyes of the girls around you burning into your skull, and you scowled. Sit on this and rotate, you growled at him, giving him a very straight finger right up in his face as you walked past. I love you too, baby, he replied with an audible kissing noise. Angrily, you yelled a bunch of expletives over your shoulder at him, which only caused him to laugh. Yin, may I see you in my office? The school principal called to you as you rounded the corner. Oh, heck, did he hear me swearing? You thought with a grimace. Yes, sir, you replied, hanging your head and meekly following him to the office. Yin, I wish to discuss your grades in mathematics, he said pointedly as he entered his office with you behind him, walking around his desk and motioning for you to sit in the chair opposite. You breathed a sigh of relief as you sat down. At least he did not hear the swearing. I am suggesting that you join the tutor class for maths on Tuesday evening here at school. There are a few other students in the same situation as you, and you all need some help, the principal stated bluntly. Yes, sir, you replied, bowing slightly in your seat. Seeing as today is Tuesday, please join this afternoon's tutor class. This is the first class for the term, he said, shifting in his seat. That is all, you are dismissed. You got up and walked quickly out of the office, heading to your first class. Making a beeline for your locker, you quickly dropped some of your belongings off and then closed the door. There was a person right there as you closed it, and you jumped with surprise. Boo, Dabi said, a mix of dry sarcasm and cheekiness in his voice. When will you get off? You groaned with an exasperated sigh. When you get me off, he replied cheekily, winking at you as he licked his bottom lip seductively. What the hell's that supposed to mean? You snapped, getting up in his face. Oh, you know exactly what I mean, he said suggestively, leaning closer to you. You're the most perverted, creepy-as F-boy I've ever met, you said in a low voice. It is beyond me how girls could find you attractive. You reached up and flicked him on the nose before walking off. Later that afternoon, you walked up to the tutor class door and knocked gently. A kindly-looking woman opened the door. Ah, Yin, I've been expecting you. Please come in, she greeted as she stepped back to let you into the room. You entered and looked around at the other students in the room. There were only 7 of you in the class. You smiled at them, scanning their faces. Suddenly your face fell. Why are you here? You asked sharply, pointing to a guy sitting in the back row. He had his head turned, looking out the window, but slowly looked at you when he heard your voice, his turquoise eyes flashing with anger as you pointed him out. Sit down and shut up, he ordered. Oh, Mr. Big Shot isn't so big anymore sitting in tutoring class, I see, you teased. Zip it, Libero, he snarled, turning his head away to look out the window again. Ha! You scoffed, marching over to him and sitting down in the seat beside him. You felt you had the upper hand now. After tutoring class finished, you got up to leave. Dabi didn't move. What's wrong, sweet cheeks? Are you all tuckered out from studying? You asked him sarcastically. Brack off, he mumbled, and got up, slinging his bag over his shoulder. I'm done with you. What does that even mean? You said, chasing him out the door. You never even had me in the first place. Would you leave me alone? You're getting on my nerves, he said through gritted teeth. Oh my, how the tables have turned, you said cheekily. This is quite fun, actually. Now I know how you felt when you egged me on before. He remained silent as you walked side by side out of the school gates and kept going, both heading in the same direction. Wait, where do you live? You asked suddenly. This way, obviously, he replied curtly. Oh, same, you said. You both continued to walk in silence. He finally turned at a crossroad and walked off without saying goodbye. What a sudden change in behaviour. It's the perfect revenge, though, for all those times he embarrassed me. Now I can mess with him, you thought, sniggering to yourself. But something didn't feel right. He looked really down. Was it really okay to tease him like that? What if it really was a sore point for him? You walked the rest of the way home warring with yourself. Should I apologise? You thought, and then quickly shook your head. No, why should I be the one to apologise? He was the one being annoying to me first. The next day at school, Dabi ignored you. Not gonna lie, you were elated at first. Oh, finally he's leaving me alone, you thought happily. But as the day wore on, you felt worse and worse about the situation. Before you knew what you were doing, you found yourself walking towards the boys' practice courts in the gym for the afternoon. You walked straight in and sat down on the bench. Kuro saw you first, and then smirked and looked across to Dabi, who had also seen you, and now had a deep scowl on his face. This confused Kuro. Oi, he whispered to Dabi. Your girl is here. Look excited. She ain't my girl, Dabi growled, jumping up and spiking a ball. You crossed your arms and stared him down. This guy was all over me 2 days ago. What happened? The match finished and Dabi turned to head for the change rooms. Oi, Spiker! You hollered across the courts. Everyone turned to look at you except for Dabi. I mean, you creep! You yelled even louder. Yeah, she's definitely talking to Dabi, one of the other players joked. Hey, shut up, man, Dabi said as he punched the fellow player in the arm and then turned to face you. What do you want, Bureau? Suddenly you felt very self-conscious. I wanted to apologise, you said quietly, gripping your left arm with your right hand and staring at the floor. Yeah, okay, thanks, whatever, Dabi said briskly, completely ignoring your sincerity. Okay, whatever, asshole, you snapped, angry that he brushed your apology off so quickly. Apology revoked, you added tersely before turning and storming out of the gym. You were almost to the school gates when a panting male pulled up beside you. Hey, wait a minute, he said. You glanced to your right. Dabi. What? You said coldly. Sorry, he mumbled, looking away. Sorry for being so short before. You ignored him. I don't like being in tutor class. Makes me feel... He paused, looking for the right words. Inadequate, you queried, filling in the final word for him. Yeah, well, I don't know what that means, so... He replied glumly. You're not dumb or anything, dude. You're just talented in other areas, like sports, you said with a shrug. There's nothing wrong with being good in one area and not the other. This is a problem if you get bullied, though, Dabi said softly. What? You? Bullied? You replied, shocked. Yeah, well, I rub people up the wrong way, and they're always looking for some kind of way to get back at me, you know. Dabi shrugged. I don't let it get to me, on the outside, that is. You didn't reply, but you knew what he was talking about. Okay, well, what if I helped you study? You said finally. I'm not amazingly good at maths, but I get the gist of what the teacher's saying. I could give you some pointers. Dabi thought for a bit. Yeah, okay, if it gets me some alone time with you, then I'm in. You're such an ass, you know that, right? You said, trying to hide a smirk. I'm proud of it too, he said, straightening a little. You looked away to hide a smile. You were glad that you had at least cheered him up a bit. Next Tuesday after tutoring class, he came home with you to do a bit of extra study. Why the hell are there more alphabet letters in this thing than numbers? He whispered harshly, clutching his head. That's because it's algebra, it's supposed to have letters in there, you replied, face-palming. Here, this is the basic formula to solve it. You leaned across and wrote some things down on his paper, showing him how to solve the equation. Hey, it works, he said excitedly. Of course it works, that's how the teacher explained it, you deadpanned as you rolled your eyes. Do you even listen in tutor class? Well, no, because the teacher's not hot, but I find it easier when you teach me because you are hot, he said, leaning back and giving you a cheeky smile. There you go again, you weirdo, he said, punching him in the arm. Focus on you, he asked provocatively as he leaned an elbow down on the table, looking at you with his glowing turquoise eyes. Shut your face, you replied harshly. Fine, he said with a long drawn-out sigh as he got back to work. The next few weeks were much the same. You two would attend tutoring class and then head back to your place to continue for another hour or so. He kept up with the random flirtatious lines, but you were so used to it by now that it was almost as if it was part of his vocabulary. On some occasions, you two would stop by the local bubble tea cafe and grab a tea to drink as you walked home. Which one did you get this time? Dabi asked, taking a sip of his. Lychee green tea with great balls, you replied. It's actually pretty good. Oh, lychee, your great balls, he leered. Let me try some? He asked as he leaned across to you as you walked beside him. You stretched your arm out for him to take a sip. He hummed, a glint in his eye. You taste amazing. I could taste your lips on the straw. Your eyes bulged and your heart nearly jumped out of your throat. You frickin' dumbass, don't say stuff like that. You took a swipe at him, but he dodged, laughing. Whoa, that one got you, he sneered as he laughed again. Arsehole, you growled angrily as you took another sip and scrunched your eyes shut. You need to come up with some better nicknames for me than just arsehole and dumbass, he said, taking another sip of his tea. You didn't respond. The next day at school you ran up to him excitedly. Hey, jerkface, I came up with a new nickname for you, you screamed as you approached him. Is that it? Is that the new nickname, jerkface? Dabi deadpanned, looking disappointedly at you. No, it's... You dabbed, flicking your arms to the right and smacking your forehead into the crook of your left arm. What? He asked in disbelief. You dabbed again. That's your nickname, you replied, doubling over with laughter. You know, because your name's Dabi. Get it? I took the ing of dabbing and it's your name. So this is going to be your nickname from now on. You dabbed again. Stop doing that, please, Dabi said in an almost panicked tone. What, this? You asked, dabbing again. No, seriously, cut it out. You're embarrassing me, Dabi said hurriedly, trying to catch your arms and pin them down. You don't like your new nickname? You asked as you skipped backwards out of his reach, doing a double dab left then right. Dabi growled and lunged at you, but you were too quick. Damn you, Libero, he yelled as you sprinted down the hallway laughing. That afternoon, at volleyball practice, you entered the gym and looked up to see Dabi in the stands, assuming the T-pose. What the hell are you doing, you weirdo? You screamed at him. I'm dominating you. What does it look like? He screamed back. You look like a friggin' dipstick, you hollered. I'll have you walking like a friggin' dipstick after I'm done with you, he yelled back, just as loud, making obscene hip-thrusting movements. His sudden sexually charged comment threw you, and you couldn't think of a straight comeback, so you just stormed off to the locker room, his laughter following your retreating form. Tuesday afternoons had gone from the occasional stop by the tea store on the way home to grabbing some food and chilling together for a bit before studying. You hated to admit it, but you actually had a lot in common with this asshole. You both liked the same kind of music, both watched anime, had seen the same anime, liked the same kind of foods, both played volleyball, went for the same professional team. Your relationship was based on mutual teasing, sarcasm, and laughter. There was an element of trust there on some levels, and he was opening up to you more and more, but his shameless flirting with other girls was starting to get to you. Were you falling for him? It's a very good question. Are you falling for him? Stay tuned for Chapter 3 coming tomorrow. I'll see you then.